And so, mm, mm, the incredible richness of silent being, the incredible happiness of silent being, the fullness of the silent being knowing itself. That is all there is. Underneath the surface play, the dancing surface of life, the truth is that you already are everything that the mind thinks it is seeking for. That your knowing is already here. It is your knowing that brings you here. And when you are truly here now, and you feel your own presence here now, that knowing is so alive with its own knowing, the aliveness of silence that knows itself. Where there is nothing to do, nothing to seek for, nothing to attain, nothing to understand. It is all about being yourself here now. So welcome, welcome to now, welcome to yourself, welcome to being yourself here now. Take the outstretched hand of your very own true nature and fall into this moment so deeply that all the story of me, all the story of something to attain, something that the me is looking for, has the possibility of just falling away, and you find out who are you without the story of seeking. Who are you without any story at all? Who are you? You find out that you already are, but it is in the utter presence of being here, being so fully here. Because when you are fully here, you recognize that the presence of this moment is the fullness of your true nature, that the presence of this moment lacks nothing, that the presence of this moment is so familiar, is already known, and is so wildly alive, whispering in the silence the truth of who you are. The silence itself is whispering the truth of who you are. You cannot know it with the mind. There is nothing to do. There is nothing to understand. It is truly a complete and utter relaxation and letting go. But the mind cannot choose to let go because there is nothing here for the mind. It is about attuning to the resonance of your very own self that is speaking to itself. And in the attunement to the resonance, you can feel your knowing is already here. Underneath the play on the surface of life, that is the mind's thinking, the ideas of doing, the ideas of wanting, of needing, all of the concepts and ideas and the story of me, and the very big storyline of me as the seeker that wants something, that has some kind of crazy notion that there is something missing, that has a crazy notion that enoughness, fullness, wholeness is not already here. And there's something that I need in order to be true and full and whole. But the truth is, you already are. So when these words come, of course the mind is going to say, well, that's not the experience here. That's easy for you to say. It's so easy to say because it's the truth. That there is nothing here other than the divine reality being itself. The truth that you are knows the truth. So it is not to look for something for the me. It is not to create a purpose out of this gathering. It is to attune to the knowing that you are, that recognizes truth. It is not even about recognizing words of truth. It is about attuning to a frequency, a resonance of truth that is deeper than the mind can travel. Right? The mind cannot go into the fineness of the frequency, the resonance of truth. There is nothing here for the mind. There is nothing here for the mind. You cannot even stop the mind, but you can just relax and receive the resonance, the alive truth. Feel that resonance where there is an attunement. The feeling of the attunement is just a recognition. It is a recognition. We could say that it brings an animated aliveness in that recognition. It can bring an intensity, a feeling of wanting to tune in, feeling of focusing, because you are recognizing your very own self. You are recognizing your very own nature. And it is beyond understanding. It is beyond being able to land anywhere, come to a conclusion with the mind. It's beyond being able to analyze and evaluate. It is just about being yourself. There's nothing to do. There's nothing that can be done. It is about being so fully here now, attuning to the resonance of being, the presence, recognizing the resonance that is alive as truth, and just falling in as if you are listening to a piece of music that is stirring your soul and capturing your heart and just pulling you all the way into some unspeakable beauty. It's allowing yourself to fall into the non-understandable poetry of your very own magnificence. It is just to fall in to the well of silence that is wildly alive with its own knowing. It is all that is here. It is an infinite, eternal field of being. It is who you are. It is who you have always been. And the knowing of this truth is eternally yours. You are not coming to discover something new or fresh. You are not ascending or climbing a ladder. You are falling deep into the well of the most profound intimacy. The most profound intimacy with the innermost being that is your true nature. And the intimacy is a familiarity, because you have always been yourself. Underneath the play of life that has played out on the surface as a life in time, a life that has moved through stages, there has been something here all the way through that has never left, that has been a companionship with yourself that is deeper than the body, the mind, the story. It is a companionship with yourself that is the familiar presence of being that we are pointing to. It is the knowing that who you are now is exactly the same knowing of who you were, we could say, when you were 5 years old, when you were 8 years old, when you were 12 years old. The feeling of your presence has never changed. In your teens, in your adulthood, as you have grown to middle age, the ones that have, you are exactly the same being. The feeling of your presence, the simplicity of your own presence is exactly the same. It's so simple, so profound, and yet it gets lost in the quagmire of the Maya, the play on the surface of life, which is Mother's Shakti illusion, the play of separation, the divine Shakti illusion, dancing as life, allowing us to get completely lost in a play of separation. You see, it's all perfection. It's all perfection. There has never been a single thread of the divine woven tapestry that has ever been out of place. Because this is a divine reality that is utter wholeness and is being orchestrated from the heart of the divine. Every single thread is shining, illuminated with the truth. Everything that is shining as that truth, that plays as the world, is shining as a clue. It is lighting your way. It has always been lighting your way. So the feeling of yourself being here, it has never changed. And we are pointing to the simple knowing that who you are is the presence that has been your constant companion while the body has journeyed through the landscape of life on the surface and danced in the illusion of separation. There has been a constant knowing, a constant companionship with the silence of your own true nature. Sometimes life has been so noisy that it has been overlooked, and there have been moments of serendipity and alignment where a clear seeing has come in. We could say the first clear seeing in the life is, in a way, the first awakening. It's the cracking open of the seed of awakening. And it is the cracking open of that seed that at some point in the life brought forward a flow of grace that invited the deeper questions to be asked, invited the questions about who is this I? What is this world? Why am I here? What is this all about? There has to be more to this than this crazy, insane play, right? Something opened the door of possibility, and that in itself is the grace of the seed of awakening cracking open and offering the light of your true nature to start shining. Now, if in this moment there was a complete ability to swallow what is being seen, the illusion of separation would be over, because every moment of grace is offering you the totality of your true nature. But we are working through a quagmire of conditioning. So when that seed of awakening cracks open, what generally happens is there's an illuminated seeing, and yet the mind comes in so quickly, and then it starts seeking for more of that graced beauty, more of that illuminated truth, starts seeking for it in the world. And so we have the birth of the seeker. But every moment, every illuminated moment, if we take it all the way in, it is bursting with totality. It is bursting with the utter truth of who you are. Just like this moment here now. Just like this moment here now. It is the same moment. That is the glory. Not because it is Groundhog Day, but because there is only now. It is the same moment. It is the same divine, holy moment here now. And your presence of being is exactly the same as it has ever been. Illuminated, precious, immaculate being. So as these words come, there is nothing to do. Do not try to make it complicated. Do not overlay the purity of this moment and the grace that is dancing in your heart with conditioned ideas that make instructions, that want to create a teaching, that want to create concepts and ideas. Allow the mind to do whatever the mind does, but let us meet here in that silent, wildly beautiful dance of true nature, just being here. Let us meet in what is true, underneath these costumes that we're wearing. Let us meet in the oneness. Let us meet where the knowing is not my knowing and your knowing. It is the knowing. It is where we are one. It is the true I. It is the amness of being, just being what is. Simple, so simple, too simple for the mind, too simple for the mind. So it is to just meet here in the simplicity, be taken, be carried into the well of silence that is speaking to the beauty that you are. It is to just feel your way. Feel your way without knowing how. Feel the resonance that does know. Feel the resonance of truth. It could be felt as an open field of stillness that is unmoving and unchanging. Vast freedom, openness, emptiness, equanimity, balanced, harmonious beauty that just is the stillness, that is the presence that is your presence before any ideas that this presence is attached to a me, before any ideas that this presence belongs to anyone. This still presence is the silence of being. It is silence because it is unmoving, unchanging, undisturbable. This stillness is the immaculate, untouched, undisturbable being. And it is an infinite field of timeless wonder. And this is the truth of who you are. You are that field. You are that being. You are not the person that you have believed yourself to be. As stillness meets itself, as presence meets itself, there is a focus on the unmoving nature. The unmoving nature. There is a silence that is the stop. It is the stop where the mind just disappears because the beauty, the profundity of this silence is so magnetic. It is pulled into itself. The mind would say, there's nothing here, nothing of interest here. I need to keep looking. I need to keep searching. The mind cannot come where we are speaking, where we are resting in the silence that is immaculate and pure, innocent being. So it is only to feel the resonance, recognize the felt sense. Yes, the stillness. Yes, the stillness. Yes, the presence. Yes, the silence. Yes, the infinite freedom. The knowing of this is because this is the truth of who you are. It is not a person that is recognizing something. There is nothing here. It is a wilderness that is entirely empty of content. It is a wilderness that is empty of experience and yet alive with its own knowing. And this is where the aliveness comes in, right? The knowing is so alive, knowing itself. Yes, utterly still, unmoving, unchanging. That never changes. It never changes. Eternal, timeless being never changes, never changes. And yet, the deeper that you come in to the recognition of this beautiful, pristine wilderness that is empty of content, the more that you recognize this as your true nature, this is who you are, the more the aliveness of that knowing can be felt as a moving, dancing knowing. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's just alive, wildly alive, alive. And this aliveness is bliss, true bliss, true bliss. It's the true bliss. It's the true bliss of being. So, drink in the nectar of the bliss of being. It is to attune to the resonance, because what is speaking and what is listening is exactly the same. There's only one. So it is to attune with the resonance and drink in the recognition, drink in the nectar of yourself just being here. Receive the fineness. Receive the fine resonant frequency of truth, of true nature, of the self, just being, just being. So if the mind tries to qualify, if the mind tries to look, if the mind tries anything at all, you're away from yourself. How frustrating for the mind. How frustrating for the mind. I know. It's so frustrating for the mind. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually matter, because your true nature is not disturbed by the mind, is not touched by the mind. Your true nature is this wild, golden wilderness of knowing that is always here and untouched. We could say what plays as the mind is just this busy little bee humming around on the surface of life. It's a completely different frequency. It's just buzzing away on the surface of life. It doesn't really matter, because the truth of who you are is not touched, is not bothered. So just relax into yourself. Relaxing into yourself is just to be here, to feel your own presence here now. You meet the stillness, you meet the silence, you meet the simplicity of just being. We could also say that there is something underneath the play of the seeker, the one that is seeking in the external world, the one that is looking for awakening, truth, true nature, enlightenment. Whatever that one is looking for, underneath the extending outward into the external, there is this very same aliveness, the very same aliveness of your knowing that already knows is the longing of the heart. And it is that we could say the seeker is just a flow of consciousness that is misguided, being misdirected. So we just want to direct the traffic of that flow back inward instead of going outward. Stop seeking out there. Stop looking in the world. Turn around. Feel your longing, right? You feel the purity of your longing. You feel like a raw magnetic energy underneath what creates the seeker, right? This raw energy, when you turn it around and you direct it in the right direction, let it be magnetized inward, right? Let it come to itself. Let it fall into itself. It can be so quick when the direction of that flow of energy is just shifted. You feel your longing. It's a raw energy. It could be a yearning, an ache. It is what creates the frenzy of seeking, right? But if you allow that frenzy of seeking to play out in the external, reading books, listening to satsangs, desperately trying to find this truth out there, it's going to feel like you touch into some resonances, you touch into it, but then what happens in the mind is the mind keeps seeking, it keeps digging and digging in the external to try to get more of that. But actually, when you feel that resonance is like a magical chute that you could take that slide and you can just fall all the way into yourself. But it is to give up the habit of trying to find this truth on the surface of life. Give up the habit of trying to find this truth in things. Give up the habit of trying to grasp something for the me, trying to get something that the me wants. Because let's be honest here, whatever the me thinks that it wants, it doesn't really know anything about what is possible. So it's all misguided. It's all misguided. And it is only in the humility to let go of all threads of ego that want something for the me, that want to be someone and something in the world. There are so many layers of conditioning to erode away. There are so many layers of arrogance to be humbled away. So many layers. But it is only when we start to feel the truth of this that we can drop a whole ton of these layers just by falling into a sense of humility that says, okay, God, take it all. Like, really take it all. Take it all. Take it all. Take my arrogance, take my pride, take my vanity, take all my concepts, ideas, and beliefs. Take everything that I think I know and humble me into you. Humble me all the way into you, divine being. I do not know what that means. I do not know what will be left here, but all I know is that this pull in the heart wants only you, right? When you can truly say this, my goodness, you can drop a whole load of the burden that is carried, of the me that is so desperately trying to get something in this world for me that has the flavor of spirituality. But the world is not carrying spirituality. Spirituality is the greatest humility, to be no one, to be nothing. Spirituality is just being. It is just being. A willingness to be so empty, a willingness to be nothing, to be no one, to not know how to be no one, to not know how to be nothing, to not know what that means. And yet, as these words come, to feel a resonance and attune with the resonance and say, yes, jump in to the river, jump into the river without knowing what it means, but feel the aliveness of your own knowing that says, okay, I'm in, take me, carry me into you, whatever that means, right? We're not talking about a movement on the surface of life. We're not talking about falling into someone or falling into a teacher or falling into a sangha. No, all of that is the dream. We're talking about falling all the way into your very own heart. We're falling into the beauty. We're leaving behind these costumes. We're leaving behind the whole surface of life. We're leaving it all behind, and we're falling into the nameless, formless being that is your God nature, right? So there's no one here that knows anything. There's no one here at all. This is the glory. This is the glory of being yourself. There is no one here. And so your true nature is this freedom where there are no constraints and no limitations, where your true nature is utter emptiness, where you are pristine, innocent, immaculate being. You are beauty, magnificence. You are the undisturbable, untainted, untouched, immaculate purity of the heart. Right now, it is to fall into the infinite wilderness that is between each word, between each breath, between everything. You fall into the golden wilderness that is the landscape of your own consciousness, where there is only one, and that one is you. It does not matter what costume you are wearing. It does not matter what dance that costume carries you into. That is not your true nature. Your true nature is underlying everything that plays on the surface of life. And the knowing of this glorious truth is what you are here for. You are here to see through the illusion that plays on the surface of life. And then, great glory, to rise again like a phoenix out of the ashes of the illusion of egohood. Rise like a phoenix as the formless, unconditional flow of life and inhabit the very same costume. Inhabit the very same costume, but to know that it is just a facade and all that is here is shining love, shining light. That it's all a facade. You can put your hand right through it all. Because it's shimmering, it's glimmering, it's wildly alive with its own knowing. And that is the glory, right? And it's a resonance. It's a divine resonance. It is the divine reality. And the knowing of this can be seen in reflection on the surface of life. So there are certain, we could say, appearances on the surface of life that can reflect this truth to you. You can receive that resonance where that glory is shining. You can meet yourself in that incredible light-filled gaze on the surface of life and not lose yourself. You don't have to come into the mind. You don't have to play the game. The game is being played. We are just puppets, and the divine being is the supreme divine, is pulling the strings of all of it. So, as these words come, there is nothing to understand. There is no teacher, no teaching, no students, nothing like that. Nothing like that at all. It is a gathering in truth, and it is just about feeling what pulls you here. What pulls you here is the knowing that already knows. And so in the company of truth, you are free. You are free to throw off the costume and in the nowness of being, be yourself so fully. Drink in the sweetness of yourself. It is just to receive the resonance. Receive where you can recognize truth. It is a felt sense. There is a quality of consciousness that is your very own consciousness, that can perceive itself, subtly perceive itself, and that is your knowing. It is the being itself, the aware being aware of itself, just being, nothing else. Simple awareness, just being itself, being aware of being itself, being aware of just being itself. It's this simple, and this is your true nature right now. So you receive yourself, you receive your perfection. Has nothing to do with healing on the surface of life, has nothing to do with having to work anything out on the surface of life. The mind cannot know anything about measuring or readiness or a journey or anything like that. It's absolutely beyond anything that the mind can comprehend or imagine. You are a field of golden awe. You are a field of absolute wonder, staring into its own nature in complete and utter awe. The self knowing itself, and that knowing is the aliveness of the heart, and that knowing is the aliveness that is true bliss. It is true happiness. It is a contentment to just be yourself, to be yourself in utter freedom. To know yourself is true knowledge. The knowledge of the self is the only knowledge that is worth anything. It is maybe not worth anything in the play of the world, but it is more precious than gold or diamond. It is more precious than anything of the world, because it is the knowledge that sets you free. It is the knowledge of yourself that is your freedom to be yourself, to know the silence that is your true nature, to be utter freedom, to be free in the face of the world, to be the peace of the world, right? The mind likes to imagine world peace. What the mind doesn't realize is that the world is the word that's given to the moving, changing on the surface of life. The word peace is the true nature that is eternally peaceful here underneath the play of the world. This is your true nature. When you know this, you are world peace. You are peace in the face of the world. You are peace, whatever is happening on the surface of life that plays as the world, right? The mind cannot imagine. We could say questing for world peace on the surface of life is a waste of time. Oh goodness, let's not go there. Questing for world peace in the awakeness of your own consciousness is truth. It is the only possibility. It is the only possibility, and it is the absolute priority of a human life, to know the peace that is the true nature. But it is only through turning in and in and in and in. Oh, you keep turning in and you allow everything that wants and needs on the surface of life to be humbled away. The me that wants it this way, that prefers it that way, that would rather, let it all be humbled and humbled as you turn in and in and in. And as you get a taste of your God nature, as you get a taste of the glory that you are no longer distracted by the surface of life, because you know that everything that you are longing for, everything that you have ever longed for, is right here, somehow inside this holy moment. This holy moment that is the eternal now. That it is not a journey on the surface of life anymore. It is not a journey that is my spiritual journey. It is this willingness to turn inward and be humbled into yourself. You everything that you thought you were is slowly plucked away, bone by bone, hair by hair, thought by thought, plucked away. Oh, it sounds painful, but it's not. It's a relief. It's a relief to lay down the burden that you've been carrying on your shoulders, like two very heavy suitcases, carrying them around your whole life. And suddenly God says, just put them down. Oh my God, can I really? Yes, put them down. Wow. Just put down your burden. Put down your burden. What is the burden? The burden is me that is wanting and needing and seeking and filled up with desires. It is to allow bone by bone for clarity to shine, for everything to become so transparent. There's nowhere to hide. There's nothing to want but God, but the divine. Nothing to want but God. And the more that you taste the divine nectar, the blissful flow of yourself. All that is wanted is to be in whatever circumstance allows you to drink the holy nectar in this holy moment, to be the holiness that you are. So, there's no instructions here. Can you see that? There's nothing to do. But where you feel the truth of this, where you feel something alive, it might be a tiny little spark that is hiding in there underneath the conditioning. It might be a tiny little spark, but whatever you find, just get really intimate with that. And if you find the holy fire blazing, then jump in to the holy fire that is blazing and say, yes, take me, burn it all. Oh, but here's a thing, as you jump in, it's really useful to notice if your mind says, oh, but don't burn that. Oh, but burn everything except that, right? Because then you get to find out what you're not willing to give up for God. It doesn't matter, because this holy moment now, the eternal now, it's patient and kind, and it truly is eternal. So in that holy moment where you throw yourself into the fire of truth and you say, take it all except A, B, C, and D, oh, and maybe E, oh, actually F, G, right? This is grace, because you get to notice, wow, those are the places of attachment. Those are the fears. Those are the conditionings, right? So then it is to throw in to the fire whatever there is a willingness to throw in. Let it be humbled. And let there be a humbling in the recognition that there is a me here that is just a little bit attached to A, B, and C. It's okay. It takes humility to see yourself in the mirror, right? Because there's nobody here that's saying you are bad to be attached to A, B, and C. There might be a story in the mind, but then it is to notice, where is that narrative coming from? It is your own narrative. Is God, the divine, the supreme, making any comment? No, there's just a wild fire here. There's just a wild fire inviting you kindly, patiently, waiting without waiting. This eternal moment, this holy moment is eternally your true nature, right? It's not you and God. It might feel like you and God, but what you can be absolutely sure of is that it's only you and God here, right? So the dialogue, it's private. It's very private, right? You don't need a vehicle. You just want to fall into the holy relationship, the holy communion with yourself, with your divine nature. There's no bargaining that can be done here. It is just about allowing all of those threads that are wildly desiring and attached here, there, and everywhere to be humbled and humbled and humbled until that thread is so one pointed that it can fit through the eye of the needle. No problem. It can just slip through the eye of the needle. One pointed devotion, one pointed saying yes to truth and truth alone, saying yes to your own self, nothing outside of you, saying yes to your very own self, the true I. So it is just to find out, who is that one that struggles? Who is that one that is attached? Who is that one that is not ready, not worthy, not enough? Who is that one that has a desire for A and an attachment to B? And I don't really want to leave behind C, right? Find out, who is that one? Who is that one? The I thought that carries you into relationship with mind and body. It is not to try to stop that. You cannot stop the maze of the mind. But you can rest in simplicity of being, where you just hold the feeling of being here, the feeling of your own presence. The feeling of your own presence is the I am presence. We could say it is the magical space where the I thought is just simply resting as an I am presence. It's not attached to anything, any story. It's not entangled. It's just resting. I am, just the presence. You might feel to start with that you feel it only at the point of the body, but holding this presence of being, holding the feeling of the simplicity of your own existence, it starts to recognize it itself, the presence itself starts to recognize, oh, wow, I am not attached to the body. I am vaster than the body. I am watching the body, watching the mind, just being, just being. It starts to recognize its own nature. The I am presence, the presence of being, starts to recognize its infinite, unbounded nature. So you hold the simplicity of the I thought without it attaching anywhere. I, just being, just being, just being. And the feeling of yourself starts to expand. It starts to find its natural freedom. that you are everywhere, that you are infinite and unbounded, that you are not attached to the body, that you are not inside the body, you are not defined by a story or by a thought, that you are infinite and unbounded, that you are uncontained, just holding the presence of being, and you explode naturally into your true nature. You find yourself. You find the self that you are, that you have always been. You find the silence where the mind stops, drops into the heart, and the silence whispers, "This is who you are." And your knowing is ignited, and there is just an empty, equanimous bliss that is your true self. Om, Om, Om. Pure awareness, just being, your true nature, here now. Magnificence, freedom, immaculate, eternal, innocent, pure being. Just being yourself. This holy moment. Say yes to this holy moment. Say yes to your divine nature. Say yes to falling all the way in to the unknown, letting go, a willingness to be humbled, be humbled away from false knowledge and into pure knowledge, the knowledge of the self, the truth of the self that just is, shining effulgence. There is nothing to do. It is just to feel the resonance as it is alive and stay in intimate knowing with that. The intimacy is so fine. It's not an intimacy between two. It's an intimacy of the knowing. And you stay so intimate, so close to yourself, and let the aliveness of your knowing dance, dance, the silent dance.